Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Trade the Chain. It is March 8th, 2021. Happy Monday. And I say that with actual legitimacy. We didn't have a big sell-off weekend. So look, even Monty's smiling. So it worked out really great. We're going to get into where the markets stand now, as well as we're going to cover ENJIN coin, which has been on a tear lately. And we're going to kind of break down, I think Monty has a good example of actually what it's about and what its use is in NFT world. So we're going to hit that up. Ryan has off today. We didn't fire him after last Friday, so don't worry about it. But let me get to the legal now, and that is do not listen to us. Do not take advice from us. We're here purely for your entertainment. And even though we know half of what we're doing, we still don't want you blaming us for it. So none of this is financial advice. And now to the plugs.
Trade the Chain is brought to you by Trade the Chain, and AI-driven sentiment indicators and actionable alerts to help you beat the markets. If we take a look at the Trade the Chain sentiment dashboard, we can see we're relatively neutral today to start the day. But definitely go over to tradethechain.com and check that out if you'd like a 14-day trial to view and use some of the sentiment data, as well as a Discord community of traders all throughout the world. But moving to marketrebellion.com/crypto, this is Monty and I and our community. And with us, you get exclusive trade ideas, our macro portfolio allocations, a pro charting platform, which I'll show you, a trading education curriculum, and an elite community of traders all throughout the world, and much more. If you're serious about trading crypto, this is the service that gives you everything you need all in one place. You can start your first month trial for just $1 at marketrebellion.com/crypto. So we appreciate that, guys.
Majority of the charts we use are from marketrebellion.com and in association with our partnership with Voyager, the crypto broker that we all know and love. So definitely check them out.
Yeah, so why don't we start with Bitcoin here on the big boards. And before we go into the Bitcoin price, I want to look at a little bit in traditional markets. Here we have the 10-year treasury yield coming down today. It topped out at around roughly 1.6%, but we are coming down a little bit now as the US stock market rallies. We got the S&P, NASDAQ, and Dow Jones all up. Makes it a lot easier for Bitcoin to rally when we have some positive news coming out of the stock market. But as you can see here on the 4-hour chart, really looking bullish and looking pretty nice in my opinion. We talked about a long trade right here after we closed in last week. And of course, price did go against us just a little bit, but only about 8%, only about 7%. And then we really formed a nice higher low here for the overall trend and are now back above those middle Keltner channels. They are relatively parallel to one another. That's what you want to see at the start of an uptrend. They're not compressing like they were previously. And the fact that we're just kind of trending and creating that higher low is very promising and very bullish, in my opinion, going into kind of the rest of the week. And aside from the technicals, just from kind of a fundamental perspective, we have the $1,400 stimulus checks coming out in probably the next 2 weeks. We had a survey with a lot of millennials saying that they're going to spend it all on the stock market, on GameStop. No, just kidding. But they will spend it in the stock market and likely crypto based on previous checks that have been sent out. And COVID numbers are basically likely to be eradicated. A new projection has come out within the next few months. So when we have that reopening, when we have those vaccines with the stimulus checks as well, it's hard not to be long-term macro bullish despite the bearish price action we had last week.
Yeah, CJ, I totally agree with you. I think you make a great point talking about all these metrics in traditional finance that are kind of driving this market right now. And it's kind of a double-edged sword, in my opinion, because I'm not a fan of Bitcoin's increasing reliance on the performance of the traditional markets. But at the same time, with what you just laid out, there's good reason to anticipate that the S&P is going to continue to perform well over the next month with, like you said, the stimulus check coming out and the fourth wave of COVID apparently is no longer that much of a concern. So there's good reason to be bullish on traditional markets going forward. And based on what we're seeing now, that kind of leads for a good bullish thesis for Bitcoin. I just want to quickly talk about these levels I have highlighted here. I think this level right here is the most significant level, about 51.85. This is where people who have kind of entered in this area, and it's kind of been a rough couple of weeks, a very uncertain couple of weeks with us breaking this support and dropping below 45K. It's kind of scary for a lot of people. So I think people that entered in this area are content with taking profits before 52K. A lot of those sell orders are probably placed right around this level. And as we've been continually pointing out, there really isn't much resistance above 52K. There's really not any at all. So if Bitcoin is able to break above it this week, if it continues rallying with traditional markets, I think there's good reason to believe that by the end of the week, we can be up at 58K again. So I'm watching for a break above this level very closely. Watch for 52K. That may be a good indication to enter a short-term long trade with the goal of taking profit around 58K. Because I do think we're going to see some staunch resistance when we hit this level. But for now, like CJ said, this formation is looking very bullish in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, to CJ's point last week with what the current administration was doing and how that was affecting traditional markets, and those traditional markets therefore affecting the crypto markets. What he mentioned today was stimulus checks. You know, that could bring a whole turn of events. That could bring a reversal to where we were headed with all the doom and gloom last week, to when that gets issued and those people have the money in their hands, and brings up consumer confidence. You hear him talk about the 10-year going down. So you know, I think it's off to a good start. I think those checks need to hit the hands of the people who get them, and like you said, guys, most of them are going to be participating in the market. So. All right, cool. What do we have? Anything really cool with Ethereum? Well, yes, there is. It's off its 1500 range level and it's gone up. So the Ethereum maxis are once again rejoicing, and we're getting some of that run over into the DeFi market. But yeah, let's hit the charts on what's going on here.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. I remember last week when we had highlighted this kind of descending triangle in Ethereum on the 4-hour, but then it broke above. And as soon as it breaks out and kind of closes above these moving averages, that's always kind of, you know, in retrospect, that's always kind of a signal that, all right, you know, if we truly were bullish, or excuse me, if we truly were bearish, we likely would have broken down out of this descending triangle to lower levels like 1200. But that's just not the case. The bulls stepped in, forced us above that descending trend line, and have already broke above the previous high. You know, Monty did a really nice job pointing out that 51K level on Bitcoin as critical resistance, but Ethereum is already past that previous equivalent of, you know, roughly 1600. So not a lot of support for, not a lot of resistance for Ethereum going up until really 2000. So being bullish on Bitcoin, I think you can definitely be bullish on Ethereum as well, not only from a fundamental perspective, but based on the fact that we have already broken above many of those key resistance levels.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people kind of poking fun at Ryan the other, you know, last week for selling his portfolio and stuff like that, and I get that because now there's going to be people who are saying, "Hey, see, the market's up." But hey, people take profits whenever they can. You never know exactly what's going to be in the future. But it does look like we're having a good comeback, and that's strong. That's exciting. I've held strong. What do they call them now? Paper hands and diamond hands? Is that it? Paper for when you sell, diamond for when you hold. I'm still diamond hands in this market, so it's really been good. Monty, you want to hit on this ENJIN coin? Tell us what's going on. It's been a darling for a little bit now.
Yeah. It's I don't really know where to start with this one. Let's start by just talking about what exactly ENJIN coin is, because it is a pretty novel concept, and it's combining, in my opinion, two newly emerging markets, and that is the NFT market, non-fungible tokens, and also the video game economy. And I think both of these have large overlap in many ways. So ENJIN was created in 2017, but I think now it's really finding its utility. So today it powers more than 1 billion digital assets. And here's how it works. You can infuse it into digital assets with a process called minting. And it's still kind of in this weird stage where people are almost hesitant to accept the value of digital assets or digital items. But the reality is, this is a massive market. This morning on our daily crypto bite, I talked about how Fortnite has grossed over $5 billion in the last 3 years. And that's a free game. So that's all through in-game purchases of cosmetics or other in-game purchases. So this is a massive market. And these items that are in games, these skins and stuff, have real world value. So by infusing these ENJIN tokens into it, you can also melt it back into the token whenever you're done using the item, or if the item has increased substantially in value. So it's cool because it combines not only the in-game value of the item, but also you have to take in consideration the US dollar value of ENJIN coin. It's traded regularly, and it's been trading very, very bullishly recently. So if you look at Trade the Chain, it's number one in terms of relative tweet volume. Relative trading volume is up 357%. So absolutely smashing through these sentiment indicators and climbed all the way to the top of all these bullish assets. So very impressive. And it's got the price action to match. I mean, this price action has been really impressive. It climbed up to $1.73 here, and it hit this green 9, but it's still holding strong up here. And I think this is a really interesting one because it's still at a stage of largely speculative value. But I like I said, I think it's really finding this utility. And I love looking for projects like this that are kind of like so novel almost that it's hard to describe exactly what they do. But I have this feeling that there is just such potential in, like I said, both the gaming economy and also with the application of NFTs to kind of bolster that economy. So I believe in assets like ENJIN, and also another one is Mana. These are two that are traded on Voyager, but just two of many NFTs that I think can have some real significant value going forward. I mean, I'm just talking about video games right now. I didn't even mention the value it brings to art. I mean, we've seen some crazy sales of NFT art. Also music, Kings of Leon used NFTs to license their projects. So all sorts of interesting utilities and applications for these sort of NFTs. And I'm investing in them now because I think they're still in this early stage where they're finding that utility and finding that value. So despite the parabolic chart, I still think there's plenty of upside potential for these assets.
Yeah, it's ENJIN's always been. You could see that first pop up on the chart. It was a sig dev back in early February and whatnot. But ENJIN has, you say parabolic, but I believe it's had some of its trials and tribulations going through with people taking profits from listings and stuff like that. So I don't see it as how do you say it, unlucky in the charts as some others, which definitely have no support or resistance levels. But it's really cool. And so what's funny is that you look back at some of the OGs in crypto that we've spoken to. I mean, we had Brock Pierce back in before the new year, and these guys all found crypto because of NFTs, or not NFTs, because of in-game purchases, right? So they were in the business of like buying and selling this stuff. And so when Bitcoin came around, it was easy for them to make that transition and that understanding over. But CJ, apologies. I saw you had a chart ready to roll and we're about to do your speech.
No, it was a very simple chart. It just showed the explosion in NFTs, primarily with NBA. What is it? Top Shots. Yeah. I'm so out of touch. I feel old. With all these NFTs. Anyways, that's how it is.
Yeah, NBA Top Shot's still like number one or whatnot. Does ENJIN have any new cool projects coming down the pipe that they're kind of participating in from a project standpoint, Monty?
I'm not too sure exactly what projects they are currently working on. I know I've been exploring their marketplace a bit. And it's cool. They have this, not only is it like you can migrate it to third-party games, but there's also the ability to just build directly on this blockchain. So I think it's pretty interesting. None of these games are any that I'm too familiar with, but I think plenty of games can blossom out of this like environment that's being created by ENJIN. I think there's a great potential to create these games that can be very successful. So I'm going to keep my eye on it, and I'm sure plenty of interesting things are going to pop up in the next 6 months.
Speaking of NFTs, anybody have any word if Unisocks.exchange, if they've sold the last pair of socks, and or what the price is up to on the last remaining available socks? I mean, we should be following that. That's important news.
Well, you bought them, right? Didn't you get them?
I did not buy $160,000 Unisocks. All right. Anything else we want to cover today? I know it was a relative quick one, but it was to the point. Yes, I knew you were going to bring that up. It is NYDIG and their $200 million raise. This is meaningful because it has people like Soros in it participating, as well as Mass Mutual. And if you guys remember Mass Mutual doing their buy of Bitcoin at the end of last year, that was facilitated by NYDIG. And now Mass Mutual has come back in and they've taken a $5 million equity round in NYDIG. And so that with Soros as well as Bessemer Trust, these are huge institutional old school players. If they're putting their money where their mouth is in this market, rest assured, we're going to have a job for years to come, I think. But CJ, what do you have to say about all this?
Well, let's not speak too soon, and let's define what a job is.
I'm hoping to be retired soon. I don't know about you, but
I love the scene of Seinfeld where Kramer just walks in and he goes, "Well, boys, I'm retiring." From what? That's how I feel every day. Anyways.
Well, that's better than George Costanza, who just kept showing up for work.
Summer of George.
We're so dating ourselves.
But I think this move by Soros and the other institutions, it's kind of funny because, you know, you and I, or Monty, Alex, us sitting here, we kind of think, oh, well, maybe they're late to the party. But I think in reality, a $40,000 or $50,000 Bitcoin is much more attractive to these institutions than, say, an $8,000 or $10,000 Bitcoin, which is completely unproven. Despite the parabolic run, those institutions are still willing to take the risk because they believe upside is there, because it's a little bit more proven this time around. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, agreed 100%. I think that kind of goes back to what we have been talking about, or that we talked about all through 2020. What was driving that bull run is more comfort amongst the institutions to enter the Bitcoin space and take larger bets on it. And it paid off for many of them. And I think the space this year is in a newfound legitimacy, and it's paying off with big names joining the space. But it kind of reminds me of what you said on Friday, CJ. If you think the market's being manipulated, get on the side of the manipulators. And these are some big names joining this side. I feel like it just brings, like you said, CJ, it's just such peace of mind, because Bitcoin was so unproven at 8K, but now we got such big names getting in. It feels like there's just nowhere to go but up from here.
A lot of people liked that comment by CJ, by the way. It's almost like an epitaph. But yes,
but like, if you're F2 pool and you're successfully manipulating the market with 6,000 Bitcoins, like, good for you. That's honestly impressive. But, you know, you can make of the ethics, you know, what you want.
But CJ, to your point on this whole NYDIG raise, I think you're absolutely correct, right? Why is it more attractive at 40, 50K than it is at 8, 10K? And that's the same. And of course, there's a doorbell at my hotel room. That's the same as if they're the difference between a VC and a PE, right? There's the guys who get in early, and then there's the PEs who kind of go into the more established investment.
Exactly. Yeah. And it depends on your risk tolerance. I mean, Bitcoin, although it's so high right now, the price is so high, it just seems, it seems less risky. Is that your room service, Alex?
It is. There's, I couldn't end the episode quick enough, so now I'm going to the door. Hang on, let's see who's here.
Alex about to get robbed.
Hey, how are you? What do you have? Oh, champagne and wine. Okay. I'm actually on video. You can come in, and if you don't mind.
It's 1 o'clock.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just champagne and wine. You
wow.
Good? Cool. Yeah, do whatever you got to do. Thank you. All right, so the cover's blown. I'm actually traveling, and I'm in a hotel room right now. But yeah.
Wow, and look at that. Alex is getting champagne and wine delivered. I'm sitting in my room in front of a green screen, on an uncomfortable chair next to my unmade bed. So.
Yeah. Well, I got thirsty. I thought we'd be done by now, But, but that being said, yeah. No. I mean, CJ, really, to your point, it's moving the market now for them because of the provenness. It's why some firms write those $25,000 checks to, the Ubers when they're a month old, and why it takes people like Goldman Sachs or others to get into them when they have a $200 million valuation. So it's a risk parameter.
And if we're looking at it that way, then Michael Saylor is actually kind of a genius. But I don't want to bring that up again.
Oh, geez. Now we're having a whole episode reversal from Friday, but
No, Ryan's not here to take the other side. I'm not going to bring up Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy. Let's put that in the rear view.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Good day today. We will see you tomorrow, and hopefully market more on top. Hang on to your handlebars. Happy trading. And CJ Monty, who I totally forgot to announce at the beginning of the show, I apologize. We'll see you tomorrow, guys.